Hey there, internet friends. Trevor Starkey here with another episode of AC Discovery, my Saturday show where I tackle anime and comics. It's been a few weeks since I last visited Death Note, so for today's episode I watched a couple more episodes. Still very much enjoying the show. The cat and mouse game between Light and L. Episode 4, Pursuit, has Light testing the limitations of the Death Note's ability to kill and the manner in which it can kill people. So he goes through and writes down 6 convict names, and he can write down kind of how they behave before they die, and he tests the waters to see what they can and can't do in that regard. And so like one of them he says, in 1 hour you will die by the Eiffel Tower or something like that, but he's in Tokyo and obviously the guy can't get to the Eiffel Tower within an hour. There's no physical way to do that, so the guy just dies of the normal heart attack. But he does kind of get people to write messages or draw like a pentagram kind of symbol thing, and so he can kind of control them that way. And he kind of discovers, okay, if the person could naturally do it on their own, I can have them do that. But if it's telling them something that they would have had to kind of come up with on their own or something like that, that's where the limitations are drawn, apparently. So he uses that test to taunt L a little bit, and he's got, like, in one of the notes that the convicts writes, there's a little maybe hidden message in. I can't tell if it's like just what the note is saying, but there's L, do you know, is kind of written presumably just as like a coded message on the top of the lines of text, so it's not probably meant to be read crosswise. I don't know. I don't quite know how the written language in Japan works. In this episode, he also identifies a way that he can kind of get the guy who's been tailing him off of his case, and so he kind of writes out this elaborate bus hijacking through one of his soon-to-be victims that gets the FBI agent, as we find out, who's been tailing him, to kind of confess who he is and give Light his name, which is what he needs for, obviously, to get him out of the picture. The one little clever moment in there that I appreciated was that Light drops a piece of the Death Note, which the bus hijacker picks up, and so the bus hijacker can then see Ryuk and freaks out about him and tries to shoot the god of death on the bus, and he just looks like he's a crazy person at that point. So it was a clever little way to use the Death Note as like a distraction for this guy, so he doesn't kind of go off script and shoot anybody else. Episode 5, Tactics, shows us a very ruthless Light. There's no pretense of Light doing this to make a better world. In this episode, he just kills the people who might be on his trail to send a message. So in testing the Death Note, he has discovered another thing, that he can write out the way somebody dies first, and then he can put their name in later, and it will still work in the way that the Death Note has before. And Ryuk even says, oh, I didn't even know you could do that. And so throughout the course of this episode, we see how he uses that tactic. So he writes out a manner of death for all these people, but he doesn't know their names or what they look like, so he gets the FBI agent from the last episode to basically write down those names for him, kind of in a blackmail hostage. He threatens to kill his girlfriend, his fiancée, which Light probably doesn't even know about, but the FBI agent lets it slip. So the FBI agent writes down the name of his director, and we find out later that Light had written his method of death to be, will send out pictures and names of all of the agents in my employ and then die of a heart attack. So right after the FBI agent writes the name of his director, he gets an email from his director with the names and pictures of everybody else, and then Light has him write all those names down while thinking clearly about their faces. So just like that, Light has killed 12 agents from the FBI, and then he also offs the FBI agent that we see in this episode, and he kind of taunts the FBI agent with his dying breath by revealing who he is, and the FBI agent was correct to have assumed him in the first place. On the L side of things, this whole thing triggers a lot of people on the case to basically say, no, we don't want to die, so we're going to step away. We're not going to... This guy can kill anybody anywhere, it seems, so we don't want to be the ones going after him because he'll kill us too. So the case gets whittled down to like 5 or 6 people, and in that, L decides, these are the people I can trust. These are the people who will help me bring Kira down. So the end of the episode kind of has him starting to reveal himself to these people. We don't see the meeting, but it's like knocking on the door, and presumably he's there. So throughout these episodes, there's some more development. In my last episode on this, I was theorizing whether or not Light would take the deal to get the Shinigami eyes that would let him see kind of how much longer people had to live, but these episodes started off with Light saying, no, I'm not going to take that deal, because if I do want to rule over all these people as a god, I want to do it for as long as possible, so I'm not going to let my life be cut in half even for that ability. We also see a little bit more of Ryuk and kind of why he's maybe doing it. He seems to have disdain for the world of death, or his fellow gods of death, and their apathy and their laziness. They don't take joy, or they don't have fun with the job anymore. It seems they're just doing it to extend and prolong their own lives. That's the only reason they kill. And he seems to have wanted to have some fun. And somebody in there kind of tips off and says that they think that Ryuk has 2 Death Notes lying around, so we'll see if that second one comes into play instead of just the one that Light is using. So those are my thoughts on these episodes 4 and 5 of Death Note. Let me know what you think of the series in the comments below. As always, I've been your host, Trevor Starkey from TrevorTrove.com. You can follow me at SnarkyStarkey on Twitter. And until next time, from here at the Trove, treasure your friends.